You are listening to the IoT for All Media Network.
Welcome, Sean. Thanks for being here today.
Hey Ryan, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'd love it if you could just start off by just introducing yourself real quick to our audience, background, anything interesting that would be relevant for our audience to know about who they're listening to.
Sure. So my name is Sean Rudnick. I am the Director of Carriers and Deal Management for Telit. We are a global enabler of everything IoT. And I say that everything, we cover it from the modules, the connectivity, the platform, for almost 2 decades now.
Yep. Fantastic. My next question was actually going to have you give some more insight into Telit. That overview right there is actually probably perfect. But anything else you wanted to add regarding Telit and kind of what you all have been focused on for the last number of years?
Sure. So Telit historically started out with our module business, which then, based on customer demand and listening to our customers, brought us into the connectivity and the platform space where we belong today. And as I said, we look at ourselves as a full suite enabler from start to finish, A to Z, everything IoT.
Fantastic. And that kind of leads really well into our conversation today, which is around the simple prepaid connectivity plans that you all released. I believe this was released back at the end of October from a news standpoint. So we're getting to talk now about a month or so after it's been out in the public, which is good. Could you give a quick overview of what these new prepaid connectivity plans are on your mobile core network, Telit NExT?
Absolutely. So for us, it's always been very important to listen to our customer base and not just tell the market what they need, but actually listen to the feedback and utilize those 2 decades that experience, the know-how, and put that together into our next products. And that's what we've done here. So starting with the hardware business that we listened a lot to the customers in that business and realized there was almost this untapped potential, and we thought, and it's proving that we were right. We have a solution that can really help certain individuals, certain companies, or certain solutions that otherwise felt a little bit left behind, left on the outside with what was historically just a monthly invoicing model. And here we brought them a more simplistic model that could really help specifically that vertical, if you will, or those individuals, companies who until now were afraid for one reason or another of getting involved in the connectivity aspect of their IoT solution.
And what has the feedback been since you've launched this from customers? I know this was built out of demand, but just out of curiosity, I know it's been around for a little while now. What's been the demand from, or the feedback from a lot of the people you've been working with?
So the feedback is overwhelmingly positive.
Okay,
Um, I can say that it's not for everyone. Prepaid
sure.
was not meant to be for everyone, and that's important for us as well. Is this is not Telit moving strictly to a prepaid model. This is just an additional tool in
Mhm.
our toolbox. And that's exactly the approach that we were looking for. We want no one to feel left behind, and we understand that not everyone functions as a one size fits all.
Right.
So by bringing this product though to market, for those who could benefit most from it, they're loving it. The
Okay.
product, again, it meets their needs, and I think in many ways has exceeded their expectations.
So who are those target customers? Who are the ones that are this was built for? What types of either is it an organization that it's built for, a type of use case, a type of end user? So who is really getting the value out of it, and the what is the real uniqueness of this offering as opposed to kind of, I guess, what other offerings there are in the market now?
Sure. So you hit the nail on the head there. And it's exactly that. It's often either a use case
Okay.
or a type of organization that benefits most. So when it comes to use case, we see, can give you, some examples such as agriculture. There are times when a device or sensor is being planted into the field next to the
Okay.
crops. It's used for a season or a certain amount of time until the crops are yielded. And that's something that it's just easier to leave the device behind. They basically let them just stay in the field because it's near
Okay.
impossible to even find it after the fact. So
Sure.
they don't reuse devices like that. Um, there are other times when the device is going to an end customer. You're selling to an individual, maybe it's a product used in a household. And it's
Okay.
very difficult for a company to start managing that relationship with thousands, tens of thousands, or even millions of their device, their product out in the field in
Right.
people's homes, such as robotic pool cleaners,
Okay.
lawnmowers,
Yeah.
applications like that. So that's something that it just makes it so much easier for them to use a prepaid solution. And for the organizations, the second case, if you will, there are some companies that until now have just been really afraid, I think is the best word, to approach the IoT connectivity component in their solution, meaning they were developing a phenomenal product,
Right.
but there would just be so many middlemen in between. It would get sold to a distributor, the distributor would sell it to the stores, eventually it would make its way into the
Right.
consumer's hands. We're now showing all these companies, hey, no need to be afraid. We have a solution for you that you can install in your device at the time of manufacturing and take advantage of this connectivity component, have more control, and offer your customers a much easier, more seamless experience when they receive the device.
So if we have audience members listening in and trying to understand the monthly approach versus the prepaid one-time payment type of approach, how would you kind of guide them down the path of knowing which one is the right choice for them? And yeah, I'd love to hear kind of your take on that.
That's a great question, and one that we get quite frequently. So it's heavily driven, like I said, by the solution and the company. So
Okay.
we look at who we're dealing with. How much experience do they have in IoT? How much experience do they have with any form of recurring billing? What is their relationship with the end customer? Is this
Right.
a once and done? I manufacture something phenomenal and then I never see it again? Or do I have some sort of relationship that's ongoing with the product?
Okay.
And depending on the use case as far as the amount of data transmitted. So the beauty in the prepaid model is that you can accommodate the fluctuations in data. So if you have, for instance, maybe a hunting camera, that's a seasonal
Right.
product in most
Right.
places, and depending on the season, the weather, you may see more activity or less activity. A prepaid solution could be phenomenal in such a situation. You don't need to think too hard. You know what the average is as far as the data consumption. One month has a little more, the next has a little less, and you're covered.
Gotcha. And now, as a consumer, somebody who may interact with some of the products that this plan is attached to, is this something that is passed on to the end user, or is it usually handled by the company who's building the actual product and is focusing on getting the connectivity kind of baked in, if you will, to the price, so it's a little bit different of a process or easier process for somebody to adopt?
You're exactly right. So far, our approach, and again, in listening to our customers, what we understood they preferred, at least most, was that Telit stay behind the scenes,
Okay.
as we have really historically. We're providing something great and letting our customers take advantage of what we have, mix it together with what they have, and bring something tremendous to the market. So that is the approach so far, is that the end customer has no idea about the SIM card in many cases, has no idea that there is a connectivity provider. They're just enjoying their end solution.
Gotcha. And from like a technology standpoint, I guess this is more aimed at the device manufacturers and the companies. What is the process like to implement this into their solutions? Is this something that's just as easy as with how they work right now with a SIM card, and it's just a different kind of payment plan, different kind of option on how they're purchasing the connectivity, or what's the difference there?
Absolutely. So we are still functioning with the Telit IoT platform, the
Okay.
same one that we've built all of our connectivity offerings on for years. So the experience is absolutely seamless. In fact, we have some companies who are using both a prepaid and postpaid model, depending on the application that they may be launching. So the same company can even log in to one username, one password, one location, and yet see their SIM side by side, my postpaid deployment, my prepaid deployment.
Hmm.
In some cases, it may be regional for them of why they're using one approach or the other.
Okay. So you are seeing that mix of people using both types of approaches.
There's definitely a percentage of our
Okay.
customer base who is using both, correct?
Okay. I'd be curious to see kind of how this plays out with in the different stages of an IoT deployment as well. The pilot stage, does that fit better for prepaid versus postpaid? And then as you scale, obviously, we talked about, it depends on the use case, depends on the customer, and so forth. So that'd be something really be interesting to kind of see how that evolves over time, and how these different options fit. And at the end of the day, the best thing that we can do is provide as many options as possible to increase the likelihood that they adopt and don't see it as a another reason to potentially be shy of adopting IoT.
And that's exactly what we've tried to accomplish is just making sure, like I said, that no one is left behind, that we provide a
Right.
solution for every challenge.
One thing I wanted to ask you before we kind of wrap up here is regarding the Telit NExT network. Can you talk a little bit more about what that actually is and the general features and kind of benefits of it?
I could talk all day and all night. So we're very proud of our network, Telit NExT. It's
Okay.
now been approximately 1 year since we launched at full production. Uh, the customer base is growing dramatically month over month, from all sorts of applications, every corner of the planet. I mean, we are seeing progress in every way we imagined and more. The network for us, what made it just so unique is, again, the focus, the attention, the feedback. Really, we're not obviously the first to be involved in having any type of cellular core network,
Right.
but what we did that was different, this is built from the ground up with IoT in mind. So every
Okay.
decision made here, we took into consideration the 20 years of experience, of know-how, of feedback,
Mm,
and that's how the network was built. So you have operators around the world, in some cases multi-million and multi-billion dollar corporations, who build a tremendous network, but their focus is rarely going to be IoT. The IoT number of devices from a revenue standpoint, it's pretty small for most. It's
sure.
obviously the opposite when it comes to Telit. We are 100% focused on IoT. So every decision we make, both in the planning, the building, the architecture, as far as redundancy, to make sure that that life-saving device, that payment vending solution, whatever it may be, just never goes dark. The 24/7, 365 support that we offer with multiple locations around the globe, we really wanted and taken into consideration what is best for our customers. And we go as far as geographically and technologically also leading the direction of the product with
Sure.
IoT in mind. So some technologies or certain territories maybe are less important for some, or for some verticals, the consumer market or even
Right.
businesses using tablets. This is different. We're all about IoT. So we want to make sure that the technologies that we're focusing on, the geographical regions, the operators, everything is done with IoT in mind.
So, what technologies are you focusing on? And the reason I'm asking is like I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who listen to this who are new to IoT and are trying to understand when you're saying we're building this with IoT in mind, kind of as the forefront of why this network exists. What does that mean from what they're seeing and probably being discussed with by other companies that are on a different network that is not necessarily built with IoT in mind as as the focus?
Sure. So, of course, it depends regionally and by operator in every country which
Right.
services are available. Um, we are in well over 200 countries and territories around the world,
Hmm.
with approximately 600 networks supported by Telit NExT, and starting with 2G where it's available, 3G, LTE, Cat M1, and even narrowband IoT.
Okay.
Uh, our focus is where our customers are focused. 5G
Sure.
right there on the horizon now as well. So we've taken, the Cat M1, I think, is a great example. That's really boomed significantly in the last few years, last few months. We've seen a shift as far as devices being developed to take advantage of the Cat M1 features and functionality. There's a few bells and whistles, the
Mm,
power saving mode, EDRX for the battery life. These are things that are specific and important to someone developing an IoT solution. And we want to make sure
right.
that if that's important to our customers, we want them to be able to take advantage of those features and functionality. So we're working constantly and aggressively with our partners to make sure that we can unlock that and have that available in as many locations as possible.
Gotcha. Okay. So basically what you're saying is rather than going out and using a network that is kind of being I don't want to say forced, but is being tweaked to fit IoT in some capacity. This is a network that from end to end is built with IoT as the focus. And from the billing to the support to the pricing to the connectivity, everything is built to help optimize IoT solutions to come to market and make it easier to
Exactly.
adopt and connect. Okay, fantastic. That makes a lot of sense. Great. The last thing I wanted to do is just kind of give you a chance to tell our audience where they can learn more if they're interested in kind of exploring more about this offering, how it all works, have questions, maybe you want to start, discussions around adopting this for solutions they have or have solutions coming up. What would the best way to do that be?
So the best starting point is just visiting the website, telit.com,
Okay.
and chat with us there, connect with us there. We love the opportunity really to speak with anyone, and I think the website, that's just the starting point. There's where you
Fantastic.
can definitely learn a little bit. It may answer some questions for you, but the beauty in Telit, it's the decades of experience, the know-how, and the fact that we understand it's not a one size fits all. And we know how to work with companies, whether they're just starting and it's getting going for the first time, either an IoT solution or their company is just getting going. And if it's an enterprise company, a multi-million, multi-billion dollar corporation, we know how to handle that as well. So we really welcome the opportunity just to work with anyone, speak with anyone, and see how we can help.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love the approach you're taking. Anything that's happens in the market that expands the opportunity and the ease in which somebody can get into IoT and adopt IoT. I think we're all for that. So this is fantastic. Sean, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you kind of diving into this and educating our audience a bit more on this exciting stuff you have going on. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Thanks again for watching the IoT for All Media Network. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Be sure to hit the bell notification so you get our latest videos as soon as they become available. But other than that, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.